Don't be average. I need you to hear that not with your ears, but with your soul. Average is easy. Average is comfortable. Average doesn't demand anything from you. Average lets you wake up late, complain all day, blame everybody else, and still feel justified. But average will rob you of your potential, your purpose, and your peace. And the worst part, the average will smile in your face while it slowly kills your dreams. You were not created to blend in. You were not built to survive, to just get by, to exist from paycheck to paycheck, from excuse to excuse. There is something inside of you that refuses to be normal, but the problem is you keep silencing. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, every time you choose sleep over discipline, every time you choose fear over faith in yourself, you are telling that inner voice to be quiet. Let me tell you something real. Nobody wakes up successful by accident. Nobody stumbles into greatness. Average is accidental. Greatness is intentional. The life you want is on the other side of the work you keep avoiding. You keep asking for results, but you're not willing to change your routine. You want a new future with the same habits. It doesn't work like that. Pain is not your enemy. Comfort is. Pain is temporary, but average is permanent if you let it be. That struggle you're feeling right now, that pressure, that frustration, that's growth calling your name. Average people run from pain. Exceptional people understand that pain is the price. You don't grow when it's easy. You grow when it's hard, when nobody's clapped, when nobody's watching, when quitting makes sense, but you refuse. Look at your environment. Look at the people you surround yourself with. Are they pushing you forward or pulling you back? Average loves company. Average loves excuses. Average loves to normalize mediocrity. If everybody around you is comfortable being stuck, guess what? They don't want to see you move. Sometimes growth requires distance. Sometimes elevation requires isolation. You can love people and still outgrow them. Talent alone won't save you. Being gifted won't save you. I've seen talented people lose because they were lazy. I've seen average people win because they were disciplined. Motivation will lie to you. It shows up when it wants to. Discipline shows up every single day. If you only work when you feel good, average will be your ceiling. But if you work when you're tired, when you're bored, when you're discouraged, that's when separation happens. Separation happens. Stop comparing your journey to somebody else's highlight reel. Comparison is the thief of progress. Average people watch others win and complain. Great people watch others win and learn. You don't need their path, their speed, or their story. You need consistency in your own lane. Stay focused. Stay locked in. Your time will come if you don't quit. Success demands sacrifice. Let me say that again. Success demands sacrifice. While others are partying, you'll be preparing. While they're scrolling, you'll be studying. While they're sleeping, you'll be building. And they'll laugh at you at first. They'll call you obsessed, crazy, extreme. But when the results show up, the same people will ask how you did it. The truth is, they just weren't willing to pay the price. Pressure reveals who you really are. When life gets heavy, excuses or execution, which one comes out? Average people fold under pressure. They blame the system, the past, the situation. Great people adjust. They adapt. They rise. Pressure doesn't destroy champions. It creates them. If you keep quitting when it gets hard, don't complain when your life stays small. This moment right now is a decision point. Not tomorrow, not next month. Right now, decide that average is no longer acceptable, not in your mindset, not in your work ethic, not in your standards. Raise the bar on yourself. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody owes you anything, but you owe yourself everything. You owe yourself effort. You owe yourself discipline. You owe yourself the version of you that you keep dreaming about but haven't committed to yet. That person doesn't show up with wishes. They show up with work. Daily, consistently, relentlessly. Don't be average when greatness is possible. Don't settle when excellence is available. Don't quit when you're closer than you think. Lock in. Stay hungry. Stay uncomfortable. And whatever you do, don't waste this life being normal. Average is a choice, and I need you to understand that deeply. Because most people walk around acting like average just happened to them, like it fell out of the sky and landed on their life. No, average is not an accident. Average is a decision you make every single day, sometimes without even realizing it. It's the decision to hit snooze instead of getting up. It's the decision to say, I'll do it tomorrow instead of doing it now. It's the decision to settle for what's convenient instead of pushing for what's possible. Average doesn't announce itself. It slowly creeps in while you're busy making excuses. See, average feels safe. Average feels familiar. Average doesn't challenge you. It doesn't demand discipline. It doesn't ask you to grow. And that's why so many people choose it. Average lets you explain your life away. It lets you blame your background, your past, your parents, your circumstances, the system, the economy, the timing. Average always has a reason ready. And as long as you keep accepting those reasons, average will feel justified. But just because something feels justified doesn't mean it's right. Every day, whether you like it or not, you are voting for the kind of life you're going to live. Your habits are ballots. Your routine is a ballot. Your attitude is a ballot. And at the end of the year, at the end of your life, you don't get what you hoped for. You don't get what you talked about. You get what you consistently voted for. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they keep casting votes for average while praying for greatness. Let's be real. Nobody wakes up one day and says, I want to waste my potential. Nobody says, I want to be stuck. Nobody dreams of living a small life. But average doesn't come from one big bad decision. It comes from 1,000 small ones. It comes from choosing comfort over commitment, convenience over consistency, feelings over discipline. One skipped workout doesn't ruin your life. One missed opportunity doesn't define you. But a pattern of choosing easy over effort will slowly build a life you never intended to live. Average loves routine, but not the kind that builds you. Average loves habits, but not disciplined ones. The average loves repetition, but it repeats excuses, not actions. And the dangerous thing about average is that it looks normal. Everybody around you is doing the same thing, so it feels okay. Everybody is complaining, so you complain. Everybody is tired, so you rest. Everybody is distracted, so you scroll. And before you know it, years have passed, and you're wondering where the time went. Greatness, on the other hand, feels uncomfortable. It feels lonely. It feels awkward. Greatness asks you to do things when you don't feel like it. It asks you to show up early and stay late. It asks you to work when nobody is watching and keep going when nobody is clapping. That's why so few people choose it. Not because it's impossible, but because it's inconvenient. You have to understand this. Average doesn't require effort. You don't have to plan to be average. You don't have to prepare to be average. You don't have to sacrifice to be average. You can drift into average without even trying. But greatness demands intent. It demands awareness. It demands that you catch yourself when you're about to choose the easy way out and make a different decision. Most people are not stuck because they lack resources. They're stuck because they lack standard. They've lowered the bar so much that mediocrity feels like success. Showing up late becomes normal. Half effort becomes acceptable. Quitting becomes understandable. And once your standards drop, your results follow. You will never outperform the level of standards you're willing to tolerate. Average is reinforced by your self-talk. It's that voice that says, this is just how I am. It's the voice that said, I'm not like those people. It's the voice that says, I tried before and it didn't work. That voice sounds reasonable, but it's dangerous because it keeps you emotionally comfortable while keeping you physically and mentally stuck. Growth requires you to challenge that voice, not obey it. You don't become exceptional by doing extraordinary things once in a while. You become exceptional by doing ordinary things extraordinarily well, consistently, over time. Average people wait for motivation. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for the perfect moment. Exceptional people understand action creates motivation. They move first, and the feelings follow. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what does this season of my life require from me? One of the biggest lies average tells you is that you have time. Time to start later. Time to fix it tomorrow. Time to get serious next year. But time doesn't slow down for potential. Time doesn't wait for readiness. Every day you delay becoming disciplined. You're not standing still, you're moving backward because the world doesn't pause while you hesitate. Average also hides behind busyness. You can be busy and still be average. You can be tired and still be average. You can have a full schedule and still not be moving forward. Activity without direction is just distraction. Average people confuse movement with progress. Great people measure results. They ask themselves hard questions. Is this actually moving me closer to my goals, or is it just keeping me occupied? At some point, you have to take radical ownership of your life, not partial ownership, not situational ownership, full ownership. When you own your choices, you take your power back. When you stop blaming and start deciding, everything changes. Average keeps you in victim mode. Ownership moves you into creator mode. And creators don't wait for permission. They build. You need to understand that nobody's coming to rescue you from average. There's no announcement, no warning, no deadline. Average will let you live a full life without ever touching your full potential. And that's the tragedy, not failing, not falling, not making mistakes. The tragedy is never trying hard enough to find out who you really could have been. Every breakthrough in your life will begin with a decision to raise your standards, a decision to stop negotiating with your excuses, a decision to do what's required, not what's comfortable. That decision won't be emotional. It will feel dramatic. It will feel quiet. It will feel firm. And once you make it, your daily choices must align with it. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You need to start winning the small decisions, getting up when you said you would, finishing what you start, keeping promises to yourself, showing up even when nobody knows. Those small acts of integrity compound over time. And eventually, average no longer feels normal. Discipline does. The truth is, you already know when you're choosing average. You feel it. That moment of hesitation, that inner conflict, that voice that says, you know you can do more. Growth begins when you stop ignoring that voice and start honoring it, not with words, with action. Average will always offer you comfort today in exchange for regret tomorrow. Greatness will ask you for discomfort today and reward you with freedom later. The choice is yours and is being offered to you every single day, not in big dramatic moments, but in quiet, ordinary ones. How you wake up, how you work, how you respond when it gets hard. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you do have to decide. Decide that average is no longer acceptable for your life. Decide that your future deserves more than your excuses. Decide that you're done living beneath your potential. Because once you truly understand that average is a choice, you also realize something powerful. So is greatness. Everybody wants the reward, but very few people are willing to pay the price. And that's where pain comes in. It's a requirement. Pain is the requirement. Pain is the receipt that proves you showed up. But we live in a world that teaches you to avoid pain at all costs, to escape discomfort, to numb the struggle, to look for shortcuts. And that mindset is exactly why so many people stay average. They treat pain like the enemy, when in reality, pain is the teacher. See, greatness does not arrive wrapped in comfort. It doesn't come through ease, convenience, or perfect conditions. It comes through resistance. It comes through pressure. It comes through pressure. It comes through moments when quitting feels logical and continuing feels insane. Pain is the cost of admission to the next level of your life. And if you're not willing to pay it, you don't get access. The problem is not that pain exists. The problem is that people misinterpret it. They feel pain and assume something is wrong. They feel discomfort and believe they're failing. They struggle and conclude that it's not meant for them. But pain doesn't mean stop. Pain means grow. Pain means you are stretching beyond who you used to be. If you've never been uncomfortable, you've never evolved. Average people treat pain as a signal to retreat. They pull back the moment it gets hard. They slow down when resistance shows up. They quit when the grind stops being exciting. Exceptional people understand something different. They know pain is temporary, but regret lasts a lifetime. They know that the pain of discipline is far less expensive than the pain of disappointment. Let's be honest. You've already experienced pain. Everyone has. The difference is what you do with it. Some people use pain as an excuse. They let it justify quitting. They wear it like a badge and say, I tried. Others use pain as fuel. They let it sharpen them. They let it sharpen them. They let it remind them of why they started. Same pain, different response, different outcome. Growth hurts because it demands change. It demands that you leave behind habits, identities, and comfort zones that once felt safe. Your old self resists that. Your old routine fights back. That internal tension you feel is not weakness, it's transformation. You can't become more without shedding what no longer serves you, and shedding always hurts. Pain exposes commitment. When things are easy, everybody looks motivated. Everybody talks big. Everybody believes. But when it's painful, when the progress is slow, when the results don't show up on schedule, that's when the truth comes out. Pain separates the interested from the committed. The interested want the outcome. The committed are willing to endure the process. You say you want more, but are you willing to suffer for it? Not suffer dramatically, not complain loudly, but suffer quietly, consistently without applause. Are you willing to wake up sore, tired, doubting, and still show up? Are you willing to work when motivation disappears? Are you willing to stay focused when distractions are screaming your name? Because that's where greatness lives. Not in height, but in endurance. Pain also builds respect for the journey. Anything you get easily, you treat casually. Anything you struggle for, you protect. Pain teaches you patience. It teaches you humility. It teaches you appreciation. The things that cost you the most often mean the most to you. That's why shortcuts are dangerous. They rob you of the character you need to sustain success. A lot of people want success, but they don't want the loneliness that comes with it. They don't want the misunderstood phase. They don't want the seasons where nobody believes in them. They don't want the nights where progress is invisible. That isolation, that doubt, that silence, that's pain too, and it's necessary because it forces you to build belief from within, not from applause. Pain trains you to trust yourself. When you keep going despite discomfort, you prove something to yourself that no motivational speech ever could. You learn that you are capable of more than you thought. You learn that emotions don't control you. You learn that you can move forward even when everything inside you wants to stop. That self-trust becomes unshakable. Average people chase comfort because they're afraid pain will break them. What they don't realize is that comfort weakens them. Comfort lowers your tolerance. Comfort makes resistance feel unbearable. Pain, when faced intentionally, makes you stronger. It expands your capacity. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine. There's a specific kind of pain that comes from discipline. Waking up early when your body wants sleep. Saying no to distractions when you want pleasure. Staying consistent when progress feels slow. That pain is constructive. Then there is the pain of regret. Looking back and realizing you could have done more, been more, given more. That pain is destructive. You will experience one of these pains. The question is which one you choose. Pain also removes entitlement. It humbles you. It reminds you that nothing is owed to you. That effort matters. That consistency matters. That resilience matters. When you've paid the price, you don't expect handouts. You don't complain about fairness. You focus on execution. Pain strips away excuses and leaves you with responsibility. You don't grow in comfort zones. You grow in stretch zones. Every time you push past discomfort, you expand what's possible for you. What used to scare you becomes familiar. What used to exhaust you becomes manageable. Pain today becomes strength tomorrow, but only if you don't quit halfway through the process. The reason pain feels unbearable to so many people is because they haven't attached meaning to it. Pain without purpose feels pointless. Pain with purpose becomes powerful. When you know why you're enduring, when you know what you're building, pain becomes tolerable. It becomes necessary. It becomes part of the mission. You have to stop asking for a painless path to a powerful life. There is no such thing. Every meaningful transformation requires discomfort. Every breakthrough demands endurance. Every level up requires pressure. If you want a life that stands out, your process cannot blend in. Pain is also a test of identity. When it hurts, you discover who you really are. Not who you say you are, not who you want to be, but who you've trained yourself to be. You run or do you rise? Do you complain or do you commit? Do you fold or do you fight? Pain reveals the answer. A lot of people quit right before the breakthrough, not because they can't handle the pain, but because they misinterpret it. They think pain means failure, when it often means progress. They think resistance means rejection, when it often means refinement. If you can see what pain is producing in you, you will stop resenting it and start respecting it. Greatness is built in moments nobody posts about. The struggle, the frustration, the doubt, the setbacks, the slow days, the painful repetitions. That's where discipline is forged. That's where resilience is developed. That's where identity is solidified. The spotlight only shows the result, never the cost. You don't need to eliminate pain from your life. You need to choose better pain, the pain that builds you, not the pain that breaks you. The pain of effort, not the pain of excuses. The pain of growth, not the pain of regret. If you can learn to lean into discomfort instead of running from it, everything changes. Pain stops being a threat and starts becoming a signal. A signal that you're doing something meaningful. A signal that you're stretching beyond your limits. A signal that you're no longer settling. At the end of the day, the question is simple. Are you willing to hurt now so you don't have to suffer later? Are you willing to endure the process so you can enjoy the outcome? Because pain is not optional. It's unavoidable. But greatness belongs to those who are willing to pay the price instead of avoiding it. And once you understand that pain is the price of greatness, you stop asking for less pressure and start asking for more strength. Your environment is either building you or breaking you, and most people never stop long enough to question the air they're breathing. They wake up every day surrounded by the same conversation, the same habits, the same expectation, and they wonder why their life never changes. You don't rise by intention alone. You rise by alignment. And if what surrounds you is designed for comfort, distraction, and mediocrity, then no matter how strong your dreams are, they will eventually suffocate. Environment is powerful because it works quietly. It shapes your thinking without asking permission. It normalizes behavior. It decides what feels acceptable and what feels extreme. If everyone around you sleeps late, waking up early feels strange. If everyone around you complains, discipline feels unnecessary. If everyone around you is settling, striving feels awkward. You start shrinking, not because you want to, but because fitting in feels safer than standing out. Average environments reward average behavior. They clap for small effort. They excuse inconsistency. They turn potential into jokes and ambition into arrogance. And those spaces wanting more makes you uncomfortable, not because there's something wrong with you, but because growth threatens the comfort of others. When you start changing, you become a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. You have to understand this truth. Not everyone around you wants to see you win. Some people want you happy, as long as your happiness doesn't challenge their lifestyle. They want you comfortable, as long as your comfort keeps you predictable. The moment you start elevating, some people feel exposed. Instead of rising with you, they try to pull you back down to where they feel safe. That's why environment matters so much. It's not just about people. It's about energy, standards, expectations, and influence. It's about what's being reinforced daily. Are you being pushed to think bigger or encouraged to stay small? Are you being challenged to grow or comforted in your excuses? Are you being surrounded by people who hold you accountable or people who help you rationalize laziness? You cannot keep toxic influences close and expect healthy outcome. You cannot keep listening to doubt and expect confidence. You cannot keep entertaining distraction and expect focus. Everything you allow into your environment feeds something in you, either your discipline or your excuses. And what you feed consistently will grow. A lot of people stay stuck because they're loyal to environments that no longer serve them. They confuse loyalty with self-sabotage. They stay because of history, familiarity, or fear of being alone. But growth requires honesty. And sometimes honesty sounds like this. The room that helped you survive cannot help you thrive. Outgrowing people doesn't make you better than them. It makes you different. It means your standards have changed. It means your priorities have shifted. It means your hunger has increased. And that's not something to apologize for. Every level of life requires a different version of you, and that version cannot survive in the same environment that fed the old one. Environment also includes what you consume mentally, what you listen to, what you watch, what you scroll, what you allow to dominate your attention. If you feed your mind noise, drama, negativity, and distractions all day, don't be surprised when clarity feels impossible. Focus is not just a skill, it's a protected space. And average environments leave the door wide open to interruption. Real wide open to interruption. Exceptional people are intentional about their surroundings. They curate their environment like it's sacred, because it is. They protect their mornings. They guard their time. They choose their influences carefully. Not because they think they're superior, but because they understand how fragile momentum can be. One bad influence can undo weeks of discipline if you're not careful. Sometimes changing your environment doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means creating distance. It means limiting access. It means spending less time explaining yourself and more time executing. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. You need enough space to pursue it without constant interference. Elevation often requires isolation, at least temporarily. Not because you hate people, but because you love your future. There are seasons where you must be alone to hear yourself think, to build your foundation, to strengthen your identity. Silence sharpens focus. Solitude builds clarity. Average people fear being alone. Great people use it as a weapon. You can't expect to grow if you never change your inputs. Same conversations, same routines, same influences will always produce the same results. If you want a different life, you need a different atmosphere. That might mean new mentors, new habits, new routines, new standards, new expectations. Growth demands new surroundings. Pay attention to how you feel after interacting with certain people. Do you feel inspired or drained? Focused or distracted? Empowered or discouraged? Your body often knows before your mind admits it. Energy doesn't lie. If being around someone consistently pulls you away from your best self, that's not coincidence. That's information. One of the hardest parts of changing environments is accepting that not everyone will come with you. And that's okay. Some people are meant to be chapters, not the whole book. Some connections serve a season, not a lifetime. Holding on longer than necessary doesn't make you loyal, it makes you stagnant. Environment also sets your ceiling if you let it. If nobody around you is disciplined, discipline feels extreme. If nobody around you is dreaming big, ambition feels unrealistic. But when you place yourself among people who operate at a higher level, your standards rise naturally. What once felt impossible starts to feel expected. Excellence becomes normal. That's why proximity matters. Being close to driven people stretches you. Being close to disciplined people sharpens you. Being close to focused people challenges your excuses. You don't need advice as much as you need exposure. Exposure raises awareness. Awareness raises standards. Standards raise results. If you can't change your environment immediately, then you must become strong enough not to be shaped by it. That means setting boundaries, saying no, limiting access, creating personal rituals that anchor you. You don't wait for perfect conditions to grow. You create internal discipline until external change becomes possible. But don't fool yourself into thinking you can thrive forever in an environment that contradicts your value. At some point, misalignment will cost you more. Misalignment will cost you moment. It will wear you down. It will exhaust you. And you'll either conform or collapse. That's why eventually environment must change. Growth feels lonely because it separates you from what's familiar. It forces you to stand apart before you stand out. It forces you to be misunderstood before you're respected. But every person who has ever done something significant had to walk away from environments that no longer match their vision. You're not selfish for choosing growth. You're responsible. You're not disloyal for changing direction. You're intentional. Your life is too valuable to be shaped by default. You don't owe your future to your past. You owe it to your potential. Your environment should challenge you to be better, not convince you to stay the same. It should stretch you, not shrink you. It should demand excellence, not excuse mediocrity. And if it doesn't, then you have a decision to make. Because at the end of the day, you will become a product of what you tolerate, what you entertain, and what you allow close to you. Change the environment and you change the trajectory. Protect the environment and you protect the future you're trying to build. Talent is one of the most overrated things in the world. If it's not backed by discipline, people love to talk about how gifted they are, how naturally good they are at something, how they've always had potential. But potential without discipline is just a promise that never gets fulfilled. Talent will get you noticed, but discipline is what keeps you relevant. Talent might open the door, but discipline is the reason you stay in the room when everybody else gets removed. There are talented people everywhere. Talented people in the gym, talented people in school, talented people in school. Talented people with ideas, skills, and dreams. But talent alone doesn't separate you. Discipline does. The world is full of gifted individuals living average lives because they never learned how to show up consistently when it stopped being exciting. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Talent loves motivation. Talent loves praise. Talent loves comfort. Discipline loves commitment. Discipline doesn't wait for the mood to be right. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or discouraged. It shows up because it understands something talent doesn't always understand. Feelings are unreliable, but habits are powerful. Most people think their problem is lack of ability. It's not. It's lack of structure. It's lack of routine. It's lack of standards. They keep waiting to feel inspired before they act, but inspiration is inconsistent. It comes and goes. Discipline stays. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel today. It asks who you say you wanted to become. You can be the most gifted person in the room and still lose to someone who is consistent. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Doing a little every day will always outperform doing a lot once in a while. Average people rely on bursts of motivation. Exceptional people rely on systems. Systems don't get tired. Systems don't get emotional. Systems produce results, whether you feel like it or not. Talent makes things easier in the beginning. That's why it's dangerous. Because when things come easy, you don't develop discipline. You don't build resilience. You don't learn how to struggle. And the moment resistance shows up, talented but undisciplined people panic. They're not used to friction. They're not used to failing. They're not used to pushing through discomfort. So they quit the moment it stops being natural. Discipline trains you to endure the boring parts, the repetitive parts, the parts nobody applauds, the parts that don't feel rewarding yet. That's where separation happens. Average people stop when it gets monotonous. Disciplined people understand that mastery is built in repetition. You don't become great by doing something once. You become great by doing it thousands of times with intention. There's a reason discipline feels hard at first. It's because it's unfamiliar. You're asking your body and mind to operate without instant gratification. You're asking them to delay pleasure. You're asking them to prioritize long-term results over short-term comfort. That goes against everything average conditioning teaches you. But once discipline becomes routine, it stops feeling heavy. It becomes identity. The most dangerous lie talented people tell themselves is I'll lock in later. Later turns into next week turns into next year. And one day they look up and realize time moved on without them. Talent doesn't age well without discipline. Opportunities expire. Windows close. And regret grows quietly in the background. Discipline builds confidence in a way talent never can. When you show up for yourself daily, you start trusting yourself. When you keep promises to yourself, your self-respect grows. You stop doubting whether you can handle challenges because you've proven to yourself that you don't quit when it gets hard. That confidence is earned, not imagined. Talent wants recognition. Discipline wants results. Talent asks, did they notice me? Discipline asks, did I execute? Talent is emotional. Discipline is strategic. Talent reacts. Discipline plans. And when pressure hits, when stakes are high, when everything is on the line, discipline always outperforms raw ability. You don't rise to the level of your talent. You fall to the level of your discipline. When life gets chaotic, when things don't go according to plan, you don't suddenly become your best self. You become your most trained self. That's why discipline matters. It prepares you for moments you can't predict. Average people talk about what they could do if everything lined up perfectly. Disciplined people prepare for imperfect conditions. They work tired. They work distracted. They work through doubt. They don't need ideal circumstances to be productive. They create momentum wherever they are. Discipline also protects you from ego. Talent can inflate ego. It can make you lazy. It can make you believe rules don't apply to you. Discipline humbles you. It reminds you that progress must be earned daily. That no matter how good you are, you're never above the work. You don't need to be the best to start. You need to start to become better. Discipline is built in small decisions. Getting up when you say you would. Practicing when nobody is watching. Finishing what you start. Showing up on days you don't feel confident. Those small wins stack. And over time, they create an unstoppable foundation. A disciplined person with average talent will outperform a talented person with average discipline every time. Because discipline compounds. It builds momentum. It sharpens skill. It refines execution. Talent without discipline plateaus. Discipline without talent improves continuously. People admire talent, but they trust discipline. Coaches trust disciplined players. Leaders trust disciplined workers. Life rewards disciplined individuals because they're predictable in the best way. You know they'll show up. You know they'll deliver. You know they'll handle pressure. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means commitment. You will mess up. You will miss days. You will fail. Discipline isn't quitting when that happens. It's recalibrating and continuing. Average people quit after a mistake. Disciplined people learn and adjust. When discipline becomes part of your identity, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking, should I? And start saying, this is what I do. That shift is powerful. It removes decision fatigue. It removes excuses. It removes emotional resistance. You don't rise by talent alone. You rise by habits repeated daily. You rise by systems that support your goals. You rise by discipline that carries you when motivation disappears. Talent might get you attention, but discipline gets you results. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Discipline is available to everyone. Talent is distributed unevenly, but discipline is a choice. That's why discipline is fair. Anyone can decide to be consistent. Anyone can decide to be focused. Anyone can decide to show up. Because in the end, talent will make people notice you, but discipline will make them remember you. Average lives in comparison, and comparison quietly destroys more potential than failure ever could. It keeps you looking sideways instead of forward. It keeps you measuring your worth against someone else's timeline, someone else's highlight, someone else's results. And while you're busy watching what they're doing, you're neglecting who you're becoming. Comparison falls harmless at first, but your fichim joins you confidence so you momentum. You enough command to love someone else's love. You enough you not to run as someone else's line. But comparison convinces you that success has a single look, a single pace, a single path. It tricks you into believing that if you're not where they are, you must be behind. And that belief alone is enough to make you quit early, lower your standards, or rush decisions you weren't ready for. Average people compare because it gives them an excuse. If someone else is ahead, they say the game is unfair. If someone else is behind, and they get comfortable. Either way, comparison keeps them from doing the one thing that actually matters, showing up consistently in their own life. You don't know how many times they failed when nobody was watching. You don't know what they're struggling with right now. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's edited moments. And then you wonder why you feel discouraged. Comparison also creates impatience. Becoming requires patience. It requires trust in the process. It requires understanding that growth is not linear and success is not synchronized. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Just because it's taking longer doesn't mean you're failing. And it leaves you vulnerable to quitting when you don't get instant feedback. When you stop comparing, you reclaim your power. You stop measuring your life by someone else's ruler. You start setting your own standard. You start asking better questions. Am I improving? Am I consistent? If you rush visibility before stability, collapse is inevitable. You don't need to be ahead of anyone. You need to be aligned with yourself. Alignment creates peace. Peace creates focus. Focus creates progress. Progress compounds. Comparison breaks that chain. It interrupts your rhythm and pulls you out of your lane. Every time you compare, you give away attention that could have been used to build skill, discipline, or clarity. Attention is currency. Spend it wisely. Invest it in your growth, not in someone else's scoreboard. Their win does not cancel your potential. Their success does not threaten your future. There is room for excellence without competition. Average people scroll and spectate. They analyze other people's lives instead of architecting their own. Great people study selectively, learn intentionally, and then return to their work. There's a difference between learning and lurking. Learning leads to action. Lurking leads to envy. Comparison also hides gratitude. It blinds you to how far you've already come. You forget the progress you've made because you're obsessed with what's missing. Gratitude doesn't make you complacent. It makes you grounded. When you're grounded, you move with confidence instead of desperation. Your journey is custom built. Your pace is personal. Your process is unique. Some people sprint early and burn out. Others move slowly and finish strong. Some build quietly and explode later. You don't know which path is yours if you're too busy copying someone else's map. Becoming requires honesty, honest assessment of your strengths, honest acknowledgement of your weaknesses, honest commitment to improvement. Comparison avoids honesty by externalizing responsibility. Becoming internalizes responsibility and asks, well, what can I control today? You grow faster when you compete with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. That competition is fair. That competition is productive. That competition builds discipline instead of doubt. It keeps you focused on progress instead of positioning. When you stop comparing, you also stop performing. You stop trying to look successful and start trying to become effective. You stop chasing approval and start building mastery. That shift is subtle, but it's powerful. It changes how you work, how you think, and how you endure setbacks. Comparison makes setbacks feel personal. Becoming makes setbacks instructional. One says, I'm not good enough. The other says, what can I learn? One shuts you down. The other levels you up. You don't need validation to move forward. You need clarity. You need consistency. You need courage to stay in your lane when it feels slow. Most people quit not because they can't do it, but because they can't stand not being seen while they're doing it. Becoming is quiet work. It's unglamorous. It's repetitive. It's lonely at times. And honest work produces real results. Comparison tempts you to abandon honest work for shortcuts. Shortcuts look good briefly, but they don't hold up under pressure. Your future self is not impressed by how much you compared. Your future self is grateful for how much you committed. They don't thank you for scrolling. They thank you for staying focused. They don't thank you for watching others win. They thank you for becoming disciplined enough to build your own win. You will never feel ready if you keep measuring yourself against someone else's finished product. Readiness comes from action, not observation. Confidence comes from repetition, not comparison. Identity comes from consistency, not applause. Let other people inspire you, not intimidate you. Let their discipline remind you of what's possible. Let their success show you that effort works. But don't let their journey define your worth or dictate your pace. The moment you stop comparing is the moment you start becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming more focused, becoming more disciplined. And suddenly you're no longer worried about where others are because you're too busy becoming who you're meant to be. They want the reward without the requirement, the result without the resistance. But life doesn't work like that. Every next level demands a next level sacrifice. Sacrifice means choosing what you want most over what you want now. And that's hard, because what you want now is loud. Comfort is loud. While others are relaxing, you're refining your craft. While others are spending, you're investing. And from the outside, it looks unfair. It looks extreme. It looks unnecessary. People will say you're doing too much, that you're taking life too seriously, that you need to slow down. But what they're really saying is that your sacrifice is making their comfort uncomfortable. Sacrifice is misunderstood because people think it's about suffering forever. It's not. It's about trading seasons. It's about saying no now so you can say yes later. Less applause. There will be moments when it feels like you're giving more than you're getting. That's part of the process. Seeds are buried before they grow. You don't dig them up every day to check progress. You trust the process and you keep watering. Sacrifice tests how serious you really are. It's easy to want something when it doesn't interfere with your lifestyle. It's easy to dream when dreaming doesn't demand change. But the moment your goals start asking you to adjust how you live, that's when desire gets exposed. You can see it in how someone uses their time, their energy, and their focus. You don't need to hear their goals. Watch their choices. Sacrifice often feels lonely because not everyone is willing to walk the same road. There will be fewer invitations, fewer conversations, fewer people who understand why you're doing what you're doing. But loneliness and sacrifice is temporary. Regret from not sacrificing lasts much longer. And the truth is, the people who laugh at your sacrifice today will be inspired by your results tomorrow. You don't sacrifice because you hate fun. There is a version of you that exists only on the other side of sacrifice. Stronger, sharper, more disciplined, more confident. That version of you cannot be accessed through comfort. Comfort keeps you familiar. Sacrifice forces you to evolve. Growth doesn't negotiate, it requires payment. Sacrifice also reveals priority. when everything is important. Nothing is. You can't do everything and become exceptional at something. Focus demands elimination. You have to decide what matters most and let the rest go. That might mean fewer distractions, fewer casual commitments, fewer time-wasting habits. Not forever, but for now. People often say, I don't have time, when what they really mean is, it's not important enough. We make time for what we value. Sacrifice is proof of value. When something truly matters to you, you rearrange your life around it. You don't squeeze it in when it's convenient. You build your schedule around it. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. There's no applause for discipline behind closed doors. No recognition for saying no when nobody sees it. No validation for the nights you stay focused instead of distracted. But that's where character is built. That's where separation happens. When nobody's watching, your habits decide your future. There will be moments when sacrifice feels unfair. When you look around and see others enjoying themselves while you're grinding, when you wonder if it's worth it, that's a critical moment. Because that's when most people quit. Not because they can't do it, but because they don't want to feel left out. But being left out for a season is better than being stuck for a lifetime. Sacrifice also protects you from distraction. It forces clarity. When you decide what you're willing to give up, you become more intentional. You stop saying yes to things that don't align with your goals. You stop negotiating with temptation. You stop wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. Exceptional people don't have more willpower. They have clearer priorities. They've already decided what matters. So the decision-making process is simpler. When temptation shows up, the answer is already known. Sacrifice removes internal debate. You don't need to sacrifice everything. You need to sacrifice the right things. The things that steal time without giving value. The habits that feel good but lead nowhere. The distractions that keep you busy but not better. When you remove those, space opens up for growth. Sacrifice also builds confidence. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you're in control, that you're capable of delay, that you're serious. That confidence compounds. It changes how you see yourself. You stop doubting whether you can handle hard things because you've been handling them consistently. Most people want a better life, but they don't want a different life. They want change without adjustment. That's not possible. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten. Sacrifice is the interruption of old patterns. There's a cost to staying the same. It may not be immediate, but it's real. Missed opportunity, untapped potential, lingering regret. Sacrifice asks you to pay up front. Regret charges interest. And the longer you wait, the more expensive it becomes. Sacrifice doesn't mean you'll never rest. It means you earn your rest. It means rest becomes recovery, not escape. It means when you relax, you do it without guilt because you've already put in work. That kind of rest is different. It's peaceful, not numbing. You don't sacrifice because you're trying to impress people. You sacrifice because you're trying to become someone you respect. When nobody is clapping, when nobody understands, when progress is slow, your sacrifice is a private agreement with your future self. One day the season of sacrifice ends. One day the results show up. One day the discipline pays off. You do what you've trained yourself to do. That's why preparation matters more than confidence. Confidence without preparation collapses under pressure. Preparation creates calm. Under pressure, habits speak louder than intention. You don't suddenly become disciplined in stressful moments. You default to your routines. If your routine is weak, pressure will expose it. If your routine is strong, pressure will activate it. That's why discipline in ordinary days is critical. Ordinary days prepare you for extraordinary demands. Pressure also tests identity. When things go wrong, who do you become, reactive or resilient? Do you become defensive or decisive? Do you become emotional or focused? Pressure reveals whether your identity is built on results or on character. Results fluctuate, character hold. Average people avoid pressure because they fear failure. Exceptional people embrace pressure because they understand its value. Pressure accelerates growth. It forces learning. It builds resilience. It teaches you how to perform without perfect conditions. And life rarely offers perfect conditions. Pressure strips away entitlement. It removes the illusion that things should be easy. It reminds you that effort matters. That preparation matters. That responsibility matters. When pressure arrives, excuses sound hollow. Only execution counts. You will face pressure whether you pursue greatness or not. The difference is this: pressure without purpose feels crushing. Pressure with purpose feels challenging but meaningful. When you know why you're carrying the weight, you can endure it. When you don't, it breaks you. Pressure also exposes leadership. In stressful moments, people look for direction. Average people add to the chaos. They panic, complain, or withdraw. Exceptional people bring clarity. They slow things down. They communicate. They take responsibility. Leadership isn't revealed in comfort. It's revealed in crisis. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming pressure will decrease as they improve. It doesn't. It changes. The weight gets heavier because your capacity increases. You don't escape pressure by leveling up. You earn the right to handle more of it. Pressure trains you to trust yourself. Every time you survive a heavy moment, you build evidence. Evidence that you can endure. Evidence that you can adapt. Evidence that you can perform even when things aren't ideal. That evidence becomes confidence. Real confidence, not hype. When pressure exposes weakness, don't run from it. Study it, strengthen it, build systems around it. Use pressure as a diagnostic tool. It shows you where to train harder, where to prepare more, where to grow. Average people take pressure personally. They see it as proof they're not good enough. Exceptional people take pressure professionally. They see it as part of the process. They separate their identity from the moment and focus on execution. Pressure also teaches humility. It reminds you that you're not in control of everything, that variables exist, that outcomes aren't guaranteed. Humility keeps you teachable. Teachability keeps you improving. Arrogance under pressure leads to collapse. When pressure hits, your inner dialogue becomes loud. What you say to yourself matters. Average inner dialogue is negative, reactive, emotional. Exceptional inner dialogue is calm, directive, focused. That dialogue is trained. It doesn't magically appear. It's built through repetition and awareness. Pressure rewards simplicity. Complicated plans fall apart under stress. Clear priorities survive. That's why you need to know what matters most. When pressure reduces your options, clarity becomes your anchor. You don't get stronger by avoiding pressure. You get stronger by facing it repeatedly. Each time you handle it, your tolerance increases. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes familiar. Pressure also reveals how badly you want it. When things get heavy, interest fades and commitment shows up. Pressure doesn't discourage the committed. It challenges them. It asks, are you willing to stay when quitting would be easier? You can't fake toughness under pressure. You can't pretend discipline. You can't borrow resilience. Pressure demands authenticity. It demands preparation. It demands execution. If you keep quitting when pressure rises, don't complain when results stay low. Pressure is part of the climb. Avoiding it keeps you on the ground. Facing it elevates you. Pressure will either break you or build you. The difference is not pressure itself, but how you prepared and how you respond. Preparation turns pressure into performance. Avoidance turns pressure into panic. When pressure hits next time, don't ask, well, why me? So what is this teaching me? Don't ask for less weight. Build more strength. Because in the end, pressure doesn't create champions. It reveals them. It reveals them. Just excuses run out and decisions take over. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when things slow down or get easier. That moment is now. Because average doesn't disappear on its own. Average survives on delay. It feeds on hesitation. It grows stronger every time you say it later. If you don't make a clear decision, average will make one for you. Deciding that average is no longer acceptable is not an emotional high. It's not a motivational rush. It's a firm, quiet, internal line in the sand. It's the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. The moment you stop lowering the standard to match your behavior and start raising your behavior to match the standard. That decision changes how you wake up, how you work, how you respond to challenges. Most people drift into the life they're living. They don't choose it. They don't design it. They just react. They follow routines they never question, accept standards they never set, and wake up years later wondering how they got here. Drifting feels safe because it requires no courage, but drifting always leads to average. Deciding demands responsibility. It demands ownership. It forces you to admit that while you may not control everything that happened to you, you do control how you respond and what you do next. That's uncomfortable. But discomfort is the doorway to change. When you decide that average is unacceptable, excuses start sounding weak. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because your tolerance for mediocrity drops. You stop justifying laziness. You stop romanticizing struggle without action. You stop blaming circumstances and start focusing on execution. That decision doesn't mean you suddenly become perfect. It means you become intentional. It means when you fall short, you correct instead of quitting. It means when you're tired, you adjust instead of abandoning. It means you hold yourself accountable, even when nobody else does. Most people wait for confidence before they decide. That's backwards. Confidence follows decision. Clarity follows commitment. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide, and readiness is built through action. The moment you decide, your mind starts looking for solutions instead of excuses. Decide of excuses. Deciding also means raising standards. And when standards rise, discomfort follows. Your old habits will resist. Your environment will test you. People will question you. But standards are not about impressing others. They're about respecting yourself. Low standards feel easy in the moment, but they cost you long term. High standards feel heavy at first, but they pay you back with pride. You don't need external validation to decide. You don't need permission. You don't need everyone to understand. Most breakthroughs begin as private decisions before they become public results. The most powerful commitments are the ones you make when nobody is watching. Deciding the average is no longer acceptable also means embracing responsibility for your growth. No more waiting for motivation. No more hoping things change. No more complaining without action. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what am I going to do about it? Decision creates direction. Direction creates focus. Momentum creates change. Without decision, effort is scattered. With decision, effort is aligned. You will be tested after you decide. That's guaranteed. Old habits will not. Comfort will invite you back. Doubt will question your resolve. This is where most people break. Not because they can't do it, but because they didn't expect resistance. Resistance is confirmation that the decision mattered. Deciding doesn't eliminate fear. It gives you a reason to move despite it. Fear loses power when purpose becomes stronger. Average thrives on fear because fear keeps you passive. Decision activates courage. You don't have to overhaul your entire life in one day. Decision doesn't demand perfection. It demands consistency. It demands that you start aligning your daily actions with the standard you set. Small changes, repeated daily, create massive transformation. One of the most dangerous traps is thinking you've already decided because you thought about it. Thinking is not deciding. Talking is not deciding. Feeling inspired is not deciding. Deciding shows up in behavior. It shows up in how you spend your time, how you use your energy, how you respond when it gets hard. When it gets hard, average is patient. It will wait for you to get tired. It will wait for you to get distracted. It will wait for you to doubt yourself. But once you decide, average loses its power. It can no longer negotiate. It can no longer convince you to settle because you've already made up your mind. Decision also clarifies priorities. When everything feels important, nothing truly is. Once you decide what matters most, everything else is measured against that. Distractions become easier to spot. Time wasters become easier to say no to. Focus becomes natural. Deciding the average is unacceptable means you stop romanticizing potential. Potential without action is just a fantasy. Decision turns potential into responsibility. It said, I'm capable of more, then I'm responsible for doing more. There will be days when you don't feel strong. Days when progress is slow. Days when quitting feels reasonable. Decision is what carries you through those days. Not emotion, not hype. Commitment. Decision also reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who commits. Identity drives behavior. When you identify as disciplined, you act disciplined. When you identify as focused, you act focused. Decision is the birth of a new identity. You don't decide once and forget. You decide daily, in small moments, in quiet choices, in moments when nobody is watching. Each day you either reinforce the decision or weaken it. Consistency strengthens resolve. Deciding doesn't guarantee success. It guarantees effort. It guarantees growth. It guarantees that you won't waste your life wondering, oh, what if? Failure with effort is honorable. Average without effort is regret. Most people regret what they didn't do more than what they didn't do more than what they did. Decision protects you from that regret. It ensures that even if the outcome isn't perfect, the effort was real. You are closer than you think, not to the finish line, but to the version of you that doesn't settle. That version is one decision away. Not a big dramatic moment, a quiet, firm choice to raise the standard. Decide today the average is no longer acceptable in your mindset, your work ethic, your discipline, your standards. Decide that your future deserves more than your comfort. Decide that your life is too valuable to be lived on autopilot. Because once you decide, everything changes. Not immediately, not magically, but directionally. And direction is what shapes destiny. This is your moment. Make the decision. Every life has its crossroads, and most people encounter them without even realizing it. They pass by without noticing the signposts, caught up in routines, distractions, and the illusion of safety. But moments of decision define more than days or months. They define decades. They determine whether you drift into mediocrity or step into the life you were capable of creating. Every choice, every habit, every action compounds. The decisions you make today echo through your tomorrow, and the small, consistent decisions often outweigh the grand gestures. It's easy to underestimate the power of incremental progress because it doesn't feel dramatic. But transformation rarely arrives like a bolt of lightning. It comes quietly, persistently, from the accumulation of hundreds, thousands, and millions of small decisions repeated faithfully over time. This is why the foundation of a life that rises above average isn't built on talent alone, nor on luck, nor on circumstances. It's built on discipline, sacrifice, consistency, and the unwavering commitment to your own standards. When you reflect on greatness, you often think of monumental moments, visible victories, and public acknowledgement. But the truth is that the most profound transformations happen in private. They happen in the unseen hours when nobody is watching. In the moments when you resist temptation, push through fatigue, and show up despite discouragement. That's where character is forged. That's where ordinary people become extraordinary. The public never sees the early mornings, the late nights, the extra repetitions, the painstaking attention to detail. They see the result, but the result is always a reflection of the unseen effort, the unseen commitment, and the invisible decision-making that went into it. And this is precisely why average lives are filled with envy and frustration. Average people focus on outcomes without understanding the process, on external validation without nurturing internal standards. They chase success as if it's an event rather than a habit, as if it's a destination rather than a journey. But true excellence doesn't arrive suddenly. It's the product of patience, focus, and relentless attention to the small things that compound over time. Discipline is the heartbeat of every extraordinary life. Discipline is what allows you to do what must be done even when motivation fades, even when desire falters, and even when the world offers you countless reasons to stop. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of fleeting emotions and erratic moves. It creates a structure that turns intention into action and ambition into results. Average people think discipline is restrictive, but in reality, it's empowering. It allows you to execute even when circumstances are imperfect. It provides a framework where consistency becomes inevitable, and it produces results that overwhelm the fleeting excitement of talent or inspiration. Talent will get you noticed, but discipline will make you reliable. Talent will make people admire you briefly, but discipline will make them respect you indefinitely. When pressure mounts and challenges arise, the disciplined individual does not panic. They default to preparation, habits, and systems that have been cultivated long before the pressure appeared. In contrast, talent without discipline falters because it never learned to sustain itself when conditions are uncomfortable or when external validation is absent. Sacrifice is the currency of achievement. Every extraordinary individual is paid a price for their growth. Some sacrifices are visible, like missed parties, long hours of work, or extraordinary training schedules. Others are invisible, like saying no to distractions, enduring moments of discomfort, or delaying immediate gratification for long-term gain. Sacrifice is not suffering for the sake of suffering. It is an investment in your future self. The cost of refusing to sacrifice is far higher than the temporary discomfort of discipline. If you consistently choose comfort over growth, you may feel good in the moment, but you pay the price in lost opportunity, untapped potential, and the quiet regret that creeps in when you realize time has passed without meaningful progress. The most powerful individuals understand that every meaningful goal, every lofty aspiration, every dream worth achieving requires trade-offs. They embrace sacrifice not because it is glamorous, but because they recognize it as the bridge to a life beyond average. The choice to sacrifice today for a stronger tomorrow is not easy, but it is essential. If the people around you are unmotivated, undisciplined, or complacent, you are more likely to adopt those same tendencies. If your environment rewards excuses, justifies laziness, and diminishes ambition, your dreams will inevitably shrink. Environment is not limited to people. It includes the information you consume, the media you follow, the spaces you inhabit, and the energy you allow into your life. Every element either lifts you closer to your potential or drags you toward average. It compels action when motivation wanes, instills clarity when distractions multiply, and establishes a personal contract with your future self. Decision transforms passive hope into active pursuit. Without it, talent, ambition, and potential remain inert, scattered, and unfulfilled. Every extraordinary life is forged in cycles of challenge, growth, and reflection. None of the processes are easy. They require repeated confrontation with discomfort, repeated commitment to discipline, repeated investment of energy, and focus into pursuits that are meaningful. Extraordinary individuals understand that delayed gratification is not deprivation. It is leverage. They understand that the weight of today's effort compounds into tomorrow's freedom, power, and opportunity. Average lives by contrast, seek immediate reward, avoid difficulty, and rationalize inaction. The choice between the two paths is not determined by luck, talent, or circumstance. It is determined by the daily decisions to act with integrity, persistence, and purpose. Resilience is another hallmark of those who rise above average. Resilience is not innate. It's cultivated through repeated encounters with difficulty, failure, and resistance. It is the capacity to absorb impact without being broken, to adapt without compromising standard, to persist without immediate validation. Average individuals respond to failure with excuses, avoidance, or complaint. Exceptional individuals respond with reflection, adjustment, and renewed effort. They view obstacles as opportunities for growth and setbacks as information for improvement. Resilience transforms adversity into a tool rather than a barrier. It ensures that each challenge, each difficulty, each disappointment becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Over time, resilience compounds with discipline, sacrifice, and focus to create momentum that is nearly unstoppable. Time is the ultimate currency, and how you spend it determines the trajectory of your life. Average individuals spend time reacting, entertaining distractions, and indulging in instant gratification. They allow their attention to be fragmented, their focus to be diluted, and their habits to drift. Extraordinary individuals treat time as sacred. They allocate it intentionally to growth, preparation, and execution. They understand that every hour is a seed, and what is sown consistently will be harvested. They do not wait for perfect conditions, inspiration, or permission. They act. They structure, they prioritize, they repeat. And through this careful stewardship of time, they build compounding advantage. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one action at a time. Consistency is the bridge between potential and result. It is easy to act with intensity once or twice. It is easy to produce effort in bursts, but it is rare to produce effort day after day under circumstances that are inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unrewarding. Consistency transforms small actions into significant outcomes, ordinary routines into extraordinary results, and fleeting motivation into lasting achievement. Average lives marked by inconsistency, sporadic effort, and dependence on external cues. Exceptional lives are built on the relentless pursuit of process, regardless of immediate reward. Habits, routines, and disciplined behaviors compound invisibly until the magnitude of their results becomes undeniable. Consistency is the quiet engine that powers all exceptional outcomes. Faith in yourself is a final, essential component of a life that refuses average. You must believe that you are capable of growth, worthy of success, and responsible for your own trajectory. This belief is not blind optimism. It's the result of disciplined practice, intentional sacrifice, consistent effort, and repeated encounters with pressure that have been navigated successfully. Faith provides resilience against doubt, courage against fear, and perseverance against adversity. It allows you to move forward, even when external validation is absent, even when immediate progress seems invisible, and even when the path appears unclear. Average individuals rely on external affirmation, which leaves them vulnerable to distraction, doubt, and derailment. Exceptional individuals cultivate inner conviction, which sustains them through challenges and uncertainty. In conclusion, living above average is not about talent alone, nor is it about luck, circumstance, or fleeting inspiration. It is about conscious decision, disciplined action, intentional sacrifice, strategic environment, focused comparison, resilience under pressure, careful management of time, and unwavering consistency. It's about making choices today that align with the life you intend to live tomorrow. It is about refusing to drift, refusing to settle, and refusing to allow comfort to dictate your potential. The path is neither easy nor glamorous. It requires sustained effort, repeated testing, and constant refinement of character. But the results are profound. A life built on these principles is one that rises above mediocrity, achieves meaningful impact, and leaves a legacy that endures. Those who embrace discipline, commitment, and purpose discover the average is no longer an option, and that their potential, once hidden by hesitation and comfort, is transformed into extraordinary reality. The opportunity is here, the moment is now, and the decision is yours. Choose to rise. Choose to endure. Choose to build a life that refuses to be average. The journey is demanding, the effort is significant, and the rewards are immense. Every step you take, every habit you cultivate, every choice you make compounds toward excellence. There is no magic, no shortcut, no substitute for the process. There is only consistent action, repeated commitment, and the unwavering determination to refuse average and embrace extraordinary. The future you desire is built today, and it begins with the conscious decision to rise, to commit, and to persist, no matter the obstacles, no matter the setbacks, and no matter the discomfort. The life you imagine is within your grasp, but it requires everything you are willing to give. It requires focus, courage, and an unshakable belief in your own capacity. If you are willing to embrace the principles of discipline, sacrifice, environment, comparison, pressure, decision, time management, consistency, and self-belief, then average has no hold on you. The life you build will be a testament to what is possible when someone refuses to settle, refuses to wait, and refuses to compromise their standard. This is the moment to act, the moment to rise, the moment to take responsibility for your own destiny. Ordinary lives are easy to create. Extraordinary lives are difficult, but immensely rewarding. The choice is in your hands. Choose to be exceptional. Choose to be disciplined. Choose to be consistent. Choose to endure, and choose to live a life that leaves mediocrity behind. Every day you act is a day you invest in your legacy. Every choice reinforces the life you intend, and every effort compounds into outcomes that surpass expectation. It is within your power to rise above average, to achieve impact, to develop resilience, and to leave a mark that endures. The time is now, the decision is yours, and the life you desire is waiting. Make the choice, commit to it, persist relentlessly, refuse to settle, rise above average, and never look back.